So this is where we get all weird. We're going to put time in a little bit perspective. So far we've been talking about time management with all these tools and about self-management with tying these emotions into it. But let's put the noun time a little bit up to debate here. Because time doesn't really exist. It is just a mental structure that exists only in the mind of us as human beings. It is activated due to the fact that we can have imagination, but we're also limited thanks to our brain. So we interpreted, for example, our environments in a different way than dogs or bees. We see different colors. We can't see infrared like a snake does, nor can we see or smell, or nor can we smell certain smells that a bee can. So perhaps we also experience time in a very different fashion. How interesting would that be? That time is not a linear idea, so not yesterday, today, tomorrow, but it's something else entirely. So let me bring you to that idea by going step by step through that. And in the end, I honestly know nothing. This is just me giving a random rant, so enjoying myself. Perhaps you find it enjoyable as well, and otherwise just skip this one, and I will see you in the chapter conclusion. But if not, join me on this quest we call time. So let's start with this overview of the recorded history of humanity from Tim Urban first. First of all, I highly recommend the blog Wait But Why. I'm definitely not affiliated in some way, but I really enjoy reading all these articles, and especially the style in which Tim writes. So do visit the site. But if pressed for time, just watch this overview. Why? Because it gives you a little bit of humility. So you accept the fact that you are just a mere human on a very wide range of timelines with all your fellow humans gone before you. So I really love this overview for 2 or 3 reasons. First of all, it makes me appreciate the fact that I am alive and breathing air and feeling my fingers in this very moment right now. So whether you were Socrates or Alexander the Great, they are all dead. You have something that they don't have. You have now. Okay? More about that later. Secondly, this really dials down on my Jesus syndrome, that we are here to save the world and I'm going to do something special. And in the end, it doesn't really matter. It's all a mental trick, so to say. But things are, or these overviews can put you in sort of a perspective. It makes you more, it creates or increases humility inside of you, so to say. So when you go back into time, enjoy, thirdly, why I enjoy these fun facts. For example, that Cleopatra is closer to us in the timeline than that she was towards building the pyramids. So wow, that was like a mental screw up for me. Like, okay, I thought Cleopatra equals building pyramids, but apparently the pyramids were as far away for Cleopatra as they were for us nowadays. And also some facts, fun facts about the T-Rex being closer to a Justin Bieber concert than being to his fellow other dinosaurs, so to say. So cool things, read the article. And it starts appreciating you more about our recorded human history, so us as a species, but also it makes you more grateful about the power of now. And the power of now, let me explain why it is so extremely powerful, and you should not underestimate it. Nor should you underestimate your own importance. So although we have this time and perspective, you do play a significant role in the grand design. You are a leaf on the tree, but you definitely fulfill your role here. So how does this work? I stole this example from the Butterfly Effect movie as well as from Osho. And it lets itself explain like this. So imagine that you could turn back into time, let's say 50 years from now, and that you would do something during the day. Let's say that you had certain activities. You got some groceries, you went out for a swim, you had some engagement with several people for that matter, but you triggered certain events. Would you still be doing that if you knew that you were doing those things in the area where your grandparents were living? or where your parents were about to be born, so to say. So there would be a huge risk of you changing the course of history, so you might not even be born, hence the Back to the Future movies, so to say. But also, you might trigger certain effects for other people's lives. You might redesign life, so to say. Can you follow me up until there? Do you agree that if you go back into time, so to say, if there is even a go back into time, but if there is a going back to time, so let's say that time moves parallel. Let's say this is a timeline. If we are here, this is future. If you move here, if you do things here, do you agree that other things align? That's the question. Do you believe that? Or do you believe that everything is fixed already and the outcome is still exactly the same? If you feel the latter, then you sort of eliminate the freedom of choice. And once again, I don't know which is wrong or right, but I love to believe the idea that I do have something to say in the 0.45 seconds from Viktor Frankl between you being aware of something and you deciding to act on something. We discussed this in previous videos, but there's 0.45 seconds where you can execute your freedom of choice, whether that's really your freedom of choice or whether that's designed by dark matter or thoughts or dust or whatever you want to call it. That's up to debate in the 21st century. Hopefully, or hopefully not, perhaps leave some magic in the world. We will find out. But however, there is, of course, a risk that you are creating alternate versions of the future. Well, if you believe that freedom of choice have an impact in the world, so we are not in a great design where all the outcomes are done. In other words, would we have a different future if we would kill Hitler, or would we have the exact same future if you would go back into time, kill Hitler, and the outcome would still be the exact same thing? That's the main question. So if you don't think killing Hitler will have any impact, so there's no freedom, there's just a grand design. So somehow we still up at the exact same point. You eliminate freedom of choice. Or do you believe killing Hitler has an impact? Well, that might be a big example, but of course small things matter as well due to the domino effect, snowball effect. Okay, so if you believe the second part, and I tend to, let's say, I think this would be the case. Well, I don't think that's the case actually, but I do think I prioritize this one more than this one. I'm not sure. To be honest, I don't know, but I like the idea of having a choice there. If this concept applies, this same concept applies now. So by doing small actions, you are changing the future. And it doesn't matter, it's doing groceries, doing acts of kindness, or acts of being an asshole. It's just the beauty. You are reshaping the future, no matter what you do. You play a role in it. It's up to you whether you make it net positive or net negative, or whether you are balanced, so to say. This is all about duality and non-duality. So if you want to make it net positive, then energy dictates that somewhere else, to equal the balance out, it will become net negative. So it's balanced. So that's an important reason why I suggest to move from balanced position. And intention is everything in this realm. So keep your balance. And why is it important to keep your balance? Well, due to the fact that time might not even be linear. So far we've learned this in movies like Back to the Future. So if you change something here, then you change something here. But that might be the entire case. So let's say that you don't have one timeline, you have all these different timelines. I really like the example in the movie Flash. which is recently launched, they compare it, or Batman compares it, to a bowl of spaghetti. So you have these spaghetti straws, where one straw would be the timeline as we know it, while time in its entirety might be just the entire package of spaghetti. Drop it in the bowl, and you have all these different timelines intermingling with each other, and that might be the concept of time. So there might be not one you, there might be an infinite amounts of you. A very cool movie is Everything, Everyone Happening Together somewhere. I will make sure it is popping up right now. But the beauty is that you are on this straw, 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 you are on this. You are everywhere. There are all different versions of you, all different choices. And you have one thing in common. That's now. You all live in now. And some is old, one is young, these are different timelines, so to say. I'm not sure if they are all the same age, but the best way to connect with these other versions of you, and this is a mental game I play myself, and of course I'm definitely not sure if this is true, but I like to believe that when I am balanced, I tend to connect better with these other balanced versions out there. Because if you're balanced, it's the best way to connect with the positive as well as with the negative. Both can find their balance. You will feel your most powerful version when you move from the calmness and clarity that this balance offers. So when you have the sereneness, the stillness inside of you, inside of your body, mind, heart, soul, etc., I like to believe in this moment of time, and as with always, tomorrow I might think something else entirely differently, but this is a mental framework I use myself, is that when I'm balanced, I connect with all these other balanced versions out there. So when I'm in an up, I don't connect with all the other down and balanced versions down there, or not as well as I could have. I can only connect with the other versions that are up. So why not move everything back to balance? That's a frequency we all recognize, and that's stable and steady. That's best to connect with all these other versions of you. So that makes you the most powerful version in the now. Not only in your now, but in everybody else's yours now. So not only are we uncertain of our impact on the future, we are not even sure there is a future. Future does not exist, perhaps. It might only exist in our mind. And this is what it means to have a multiple dimension timeline, and what it means to be a multiple dimension being, so to say, that you can cross these different timelines. You can hop on to the future or back to the past, so to say, but you are not on your own timeline anymore if you would do that. So perhaps there are creatures around who can do that, like that. I think it's a fascinating concept. This is also tied, of course, to the quantum model. So quantum teaches you to oversee the spectrum, but maybe this is the entire spectrum. So quantum says if something goes up, it simultaneously goes down somewhere else. And this somewhere else can be on the planet, can be on the universe, but can also be on another timeline. So it's actually scientifically proven that this theory, that this model is in theory possible. And I can't wait personally to see what our next quantum computing can do, as our current computing is done on electricity, so on, off. Our current computing is done binary. So it's either yes or no. It's either a 0 and or a 1. Just see how Neo watches The Matrix. He sees only zeros and ones in the movie The Matrix. However, quantum computing is not built on energy. It is built on atoms. So what atoms, like it's a biological computer. It's not an electric computer, it's a biological one. So it sees the zeros, it sees the ones, and it sees everything in between. So it sees blacks, it sees black, it sees white, but also all the other colors in the spectrum. And I love that concept because then you can apply biology, you can get biology into your hardware. If you run so this quantum is hardware. If you run software on it, like an AI, which is sort of like a super calculator, you could, for example, test our human immortality. In other words, you can get one of these immortal beings we have on our planets. So we have an immortal worm, we have a fish in the ocean, or an octopus in the ocean that keeps copying himself or herself or itself, whatever we should call a self-copying octopus or some sort of fish. Sorry, I should have had my facts straight. But the worm is like several 100, I think it's 200 million years old or so. So just the worm, just so you know, they teach the worm a trick. They cut the worm up in 256 pieces, like flipping a Bitcoin switch for that matter, so to say. Bitcoin also, your private key also consists of 256 zeros and ones. But they cut this worm up in 256 pieces, and then the worm regrows itself. So not only are there 256 new worms, it also knows all the tricks. It's the same as Naruto in the anime, where he multiplies himself and all the Narutos go out fighting. If one learns something, if he gets destroyed, he gets back to his main body learns something. The same concept applies with this worm. So the worm can multiply itself instantly. It's a beautiful concept. Well, if you get a worm like that, check the biometrics and compare it with the biometrics of a human being. So tissue, for example, and ask software to calculate, like, okay, what do we need to do in order to get from human to that type of also human hardware to that type of body. How do we need to engineer ourselves? But also, how can we prevent certain sicknesses? So cancer-infected tissue, like, okay, what do we need to do? What medicine is active? So if you combine this big data, machine learning models with a biological computer, which is at least 200 million times faster more powerful than our current computing, there is a non-0% chance that we can actually become immortal beings. Not sure if we will see it in our timeline, but it's fascinating. At this moment, we are no longer dependent on stories about eternal springs of youth hidden in some hidden super secret cave from ancient Greek mythology, but it's a combination of magic we call science in this case. However, a side note, I love this stuff. This is the technical human side in me, but I also love the spiritual approach. So, for example, if you read the Bhagavad Gita, states that sort of the Indian Bible, so to say, is when you die, you reborn in a new life. So if you play this pyramid of life game, so to say, the deeper you go, the more you become self-aware, the more you share with others, the higher you go, the more you transcend, so to say. Means that, okay, if you play this game, if you reach a certain level, then you are not reborn and you go back into the entire cosmic energy from which we came. If you play this game on the lower level, so you only think about food, sex, whatever, you will remain in that life. You will remain in the dirt, like the lotus in the dirt, so to say. So that's the game. That's also some form of infinite lives. So the question is, what is time? Also means in our case, what is death? Death. Are we really dying when we die, or are we just migrating to another state of being and then migrate again from life, this case life, to death, and then back on, off. Could also be the case. I don't know. I have no active memory of that. What I wanted to say is that keep these things in mind when you are occupying yourself with your plannings, your goals, your time management, that there's always another level of deepness behind it. Because even these things are all mental concepts. The things that you feel in a balanced position, I cannot explain in words. It's just like love or music. The words won't do it justice. I can't have there's no language for it, so to say. You have to experience it yourself. By balancing yourself and listening to your inner voices, you start recognizing the power of perhaps other voices, or your inner voice becomes louder. Whether that's you connecting with all these other yous, that I leave up to you. It might be a weird mind spin for me, but don't ever neglect that you actually do have power in now. So whether you feel really shitty, do realize that you are responsible for the future as well in the way you act. So there is some sort of responsibility. Luckily, you're not alone. We're in this together. So you is I, and you and me becomes we, so to say. I honestly believe that that you are more than just you. And the sooner you migrate from me to we, the better it is for you and us. First of all, realize that time is just a construction of your mind. And so far in the game of life, time is our opponent. However, we are not migrating from past to future. Perhaps we are migrating in all these things right now. So acknowledge the power of now. How do you do that? Again, deathbed clarity. There's a reason why I migrated this story to death. This gives the death is such a powerful thing in our lives that death is the one true and only dead line. Yeah. Somebody who created that word might have thought about that as well. So think about your death. Embrace the fact that you will die one day, even if you have some form of immortal life. Nothing that's real, or the only thing that's real, so to say, will survive the tooth of time. That is a spiritual approach that I won't dive into too much for now. A final remark about money being time, or time is money. Perhaps you now see how superficial such an approach is. Yes, money is indeed quantified time. However, time is definitely not something as mundane as money. Both are mental constructs thought up in the minds. So money is not real, time is not real. And yes, you can definitely see money as time, because money's earned now by sacrificing time, so you can spend it later for things that might save you time, for example, your pension. Is transferring time from now to somewhere else on your line. However, time is definitely more than money. Okay, so if you do measure money in time, so for example, if you want to decide something is a hell yeah or no, and if you stick value to it, so let's say I don't do coffee.com approach from Naval, an angel investor, who states like, okay, $400 is my hourly rate. If I really don't like to do an activity, I'm going to ask at least $400 for it. If I'm not earning that amount of money, I don't do it. So he used that approach to skip for coffees, or to skip certain annoying activities, or to delegate things. So if it doesn't help you generating $400 an hour, then don't do. This can also help by determining, for example, should you clean your own house if you want to earn $400 an hour, or should you pay somebody who asks, I don't know, $20 an hour for that matter. I'm not sure what the hourly rate is nowadays. Depends on where you live, of course. But pick your rate and use that as a metric. For example, the same with Pareto. However, a fair warning, if you only see time as money, you are missing so many different dimensions, so many other values to get out of your time than just mere money. So think of joy, peace, freedom, pleasure, balance, perhaps the crossway to other multiple dimensions. So I want to close off with this final statement, which does not have much to do with time in itself, but keep in mind that money is a very powerful servant, but a terrible master. So the love of money is the root of all evil. Okay, so without further ado, let's put things into a conclusion. Cherish and immerse the present moment. It is perhaps more powerful than we even realize, as now is the only moment there actually is. So perhaps you are on this line migrating towards tomorrow, but somebody else, some other version of you, might be in the early phases of that, all happening together in the now. So don't let procrastination withhold you any longer. Do yourself and all the other versions of you a huge favor. Start getting grounded, start getting balanced, start moving with intent. And let's await our future in this timeline. Let's see what this quantum approach is going to happen. Never ever forget that time in the end is a mental construct thought up in your mind, and our minds are limitless, but limited at the moment. So grow, open up your mind, and we might even be able to comprehend this dimensioning, traveling time beings we can or could become. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. Sorry for this rant. If you thought like I lost him totally in all these different spectras. I do want to urge you, if you have any other opinions or insights, I honestly know nothing. I'm like Jon Snow over here. So teach me. Learn me how to become this time traveling being, so to say, or any other opinions. Honestly, you would do me a huge favor. Leave them in the YouTube remarks or find me in classes or in the Discord or whatever. Definitely, just tuck me on the shirt, so to say.